Hello and welcome to episode 88 of Tom's Hirschsprung's podcast. I'm delighted to be joined in Hirschsprung's Awareness Month by Sadie Goldthorpe. Sadie, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, and a happy Hirschsprung's Awareness Month as this goes out. Um, and we're here to talk about your 4-year-old son, Cody,
Yep.
and his experience with Hirschsprung's disease. And I guess where we'll kind of start will be with you sort of around 10 weeks pregnant. Is that right?
Yeah. I just had my bloods where they do all the screenings, and Cody's actually my second born. I have a 6-year-old little boy. Um, no problems there at all. So I was expecting second pregnancy, everything to be fine, but I got a phone call just after the 10 weeks bloods, and it came back that Cody's bloods was 1 in 8 for Down syndrome. I'm like, oh, what's happened? So we went and had the further tests, and it actually came back that he didn't have Down syndrome, but definitely something was picked up. So throughout the pregnancy, I thought, oh, it was always a concern, or not concern, a worry, I should say. I was worried, but I was like, no, we have to go for it. They've done my blood, they've done extra bloods, extra testing, and he hasn't got Down syndrome. But I'm still convinced something was picked up there, that something was amiss. I don't know how true this is, but I think I've heard someone say that 1 in 8 children with Hirschsprung disease have Down syndrome.
Yeah, sounds roughly
I
right.
don't.
I can't remember the
Yeah,
exact
I
figures, but
don't
it's
know the exact facts, but but obviously we'd never heard of Down Hirschsprung disease before, so there he came, pregnant, bang on his due date. Um, and yeah, everything seemed okay for the first 10 hours. Um, it was COVID. I found out I was pregnant when the day the pubs opened.
oh right.
Um, so, um, but it was yeah, the pregnancy was absolutely fine, bar that the worry that we had in the beginning, and it was still in the back of my mind throughout. But the main concern we had was, would my husband be able to come to the hospital um, what when Cody was being born, because we went back straight into lockdown again. And we went to the hospital, my waters had broke, and they said, yep, you're in labour, your husband can come in. So it was like, brilliant, this is all going to go to plan, he can be there. Cody was born, everything was fine. My husband had to go home. I went back to the ward. I remember messaging, he drank a bottle of formula when he was born. So everything was just going to plan. They did his checks, brilliant. Husband went home, and I remember messaging him saying, "Oh, I think we have a sicky baby," because he was being sick quite a lot. And we didn't have that with Zach. And I was just going through baby grows after baby grows. I think I packed about six, and within an hour, they were all gone. Um, so I messaged Andy and I said, look, when you come up, can you bring more clothes? But it was kind of a funny colour sick. But I thought, okay, maybe I called the nurse over and they were like, oh, he's probably just clearing everything from the birth. Um, and I'd lay him down, and I was always be looking. I was like, he's not crying, doesn't doesn't want food. So after about 10 hours had passed, and he still didn't want any milk, but he was still, when I was picking up, just being sick. Um, the hospital actually gave me back my notes, and I'd gone to the counter, the nurse station, 11 times in 12 hours, saying there's something not quite right. Um, and it was really frustrating because I didn't know if it was me thinking, okay, I know all babies are different and maybe I shouldn't compare him to Zach, but just something didn't feel right. And with all this sickness, Andy then came back to the hospital, tried to give him some milk, wouldn't take it. And Andy was like, no, it's all fine. I was like, oh, I don't know. And then the nurse came and said, look, you can go home. And I was like, he hasn't pooed, he's not drinking. I don't actually want to go home. Um, and I'm like, okay, let's just stay in overnight because it's now coming to night time. Stay in overnight. And I remember going back to the nurse station. I said, look, someone needs to have a look at him. I can't feed him. He's not crying. He doesn't want food, but someone needs to look at him and just take an eye on him because I'm really concerned. A few hours later, a NICU nurse came up with different teats of bottles to try and see if they could change that, see if he would take it. I even said, look, I wasn't going to breastfeed, but I will breastfeed. Like I will try and do anything. Um, but it didn't go to plan with my first, so I'd already been set in mind that I wasn't going to breastfeed. Um, and they then had to get to blood test, like a sugar test, and they just took him in, and then everything came back okay. And they were like, "Oh, I don't know." A few hours passed, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but he was just still constantly being sick, still this colour coming up. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, we went down to intensive care because they wanted to do an X-ray on him. And I said, "Okay, um, what's going to happen?" And it was really traumatic. They literally just cut open his arm to get blood, and they're like, "Mum, you're going to go now. You're going to go back to the ward, have a cup of tea, and then come back at 9 when everything's opened, and you'll be able to take Cody back to the ward." So I was like, "Okay, they're just going to do a few tests. Everything's going to be fine." When I went back to the ward, they had moved me into a ward on my own where there was no other people, so I didn't have to see other parents with their children. And I'm ringing Andy, and I'm like, "This is what's going on," and I'm a bit beside myself now. I'm thinking, well, I think my milk was coming in as well. I was just thinking, I don't understand and what's going on, and no one, we couldn't. I was talking to my mum, and my mum was sending me links on my phone. Could it be this? Could it be that? And it was all just a guessing game. We just didn't know. Um, so I went back down at 9, bang on the dot, and I said, "Oh, Mum, he's over there." And they pointed to one of the incubators. And I said, "Oh, no, he's not staying down here. He was just in there having an X-ray or scans. He wasn't staying down here." And they went, "He is." And I was like, so they walked me to him, and there he was in the incubator, fully all tube, nose and everything. And they were like, "Do you want to have a cuddle?" And I said, "No, I didn't want to move him. You know, they've got all the tube." And it was a real shock to me, real shock. Um, and they said, "Look, Dad can, there's only one of you at a time." And I said, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And they're like, "We don't know." COVID. Um, so because it was COVID, they'd only let one of us there at a time. So I was going back up to the ward, and he was coming to the hospital, and he spent a couple of hours with him, and I was coming back down, and they said, "Right, you can be discharged." And I was like, because I need to go. I don't want to be on this ward here. So I kind of discharged myself. Um, and we were just taking it in turns throughout the day. And they said, "Look," and then all day we were there, still not getting anything, not understanding fully what's going on, still hadn't gone to the loo, never even heard of Hirschsprung disease, wasn't even mentioned at this point. So I said, um, what's happening? Do you know anything? And they said, "We're talking to Oxford. We're talking to the children's hospital." So I was like, okay, they're going to talk to the hospital, they're getting a bit more information. And they're like, "Look, you need to go home. You can't stay, both of you can't stay here. Go home. We'll call you, and then just if anything changes or if you're needed, and then come back tomorrow morning." Um, so I didn't want to go, but we did. But I thought, I need to see Zach. I need to see Zach. He was two and a half at the time. And I got home, and Andy was like, on the journey on the way home was just terrible. It was complete silence, apart from one sentence was, "I'm really sorry, all the baby stuff is out." And I'd had flowers and balloons delivered that day when we hadn't been there. But I was coming home without a baby. And I think that really hit that something, it'd all been a bit of a blur, and we're just on survival mode. So we got home, and I saw Zach, and that was amazing. And he says, "You still, baby's still in your tummy?" I said, "Yeah." So I couldn't even tell him that Cody had been born because I didn't know what was going to happen, and I just couldn't. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't even discussed what we were going to say. I said, "Not yet." Um, in hindsight, I'm thinking, "God, bloody cheek! I must have still looked 9 months pregnant," but we'll go with it. Um, so he came, so I just gave him a massive hug, and it was bedtime. So he went to bed, and I remember I went to the kitchen, and a long time ago, I'm on and off antidepressants and anxiety medication since the birth of Zach. And I thought I need some medication. I need my medicine because I'm going to ring the doctor first thing and get on my meds because I don't know what's to come and I don't know how I'm going to handle all of this. So I went straight to the cupboard, got my antidepressants and an anxiety tablet, and I literally got a shot of vodka and just did the two tablets together with a vodka just to try and calm me, get back in the room. Terrible to admit that that's what I did, but I did because I just needed to either knock myself out or just it was coping survival. Zach was in bed at 8 o'clock. I rang the hospital. And I said, look, I just want to check, is Cody okay? Has anything happened? I've only been home about an hour and a half. And they're like, oh, Miss Goldthorpe, thank you for calling. We've been trying to call you. Now, I have been glued to my phone and I haven't had a missed call, nor's my husband. And they said, can you come back? Cody's going to Oxford. And I was like, okay. She said, we're waiting for the ambulance. It could be several hours, but come back. We're going to go straight to the he's going to go be transferred to Oxford Children's Hospital. So luckily, my mother-in-law was living next door to us. She came over to have my eldest, and Andy hadn't had the shot of vodka. Drove us back to the hospital. Got to the hospital, and the doctor was there waiting, and he said, "Mum, I need your blood." And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I couldn't understand why. I said, but I've had Prozac, a propanol, and a shot of vodka. I'm literally just falling apart at this point. And like, that's okay. Needs must. He was really kind. Like he was a really kind doctor. Took my blood, and they're like, we just need to wait for the ambulance, and they're going to go to Oxford Children's Hospital, and they're going to run more tests. Still didn't know what was wrong. And I said, look, we've got the car with the baby seat. We'll take him. And they're like, no, we have to wait for the ambulance. And I was like, but if other children need that ambulance, we've got the seat. We can just strap him in and take him. I was not fully aware of the machinery that Cody was going to be going into. It was just like out of the start. I'd never seen anything like it. And even now, I still Google. So I think there's only a few in the country like it. And one of the nurse said, would you like to take a picture? And I was like, no, I don't want a picture of my son in this machine. It was all really surreal, really, really surreal. And the paramedic said, don't follow us. And I was like, why? And they're like, if we put on our lights, wouldn't necessarily be for Cody, but because we have to go to another job, it's going to scare you. So I rather can you just hang back 10 minutes and let us get there before you leave the hospital? 40 minutes from the hospital to where we were going. So again, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was raining. It was dark. It was just a really bad journey. And again, only one parent can go into the ward. So Andy said, I will stay in the car, try and get some sleep, and I'll wait for you both. We honestly thought we were going to the hospital to have further tests and Cody would be coming home. And Andy was waiting in the car. He was waiting in the car park for us. As soon as I got on the ward, there he was in the bed, not in an incubator this time, still was hooked up with everything. And they were like, we're going to do a washout. And I'd never heard of this before, never seen this. And they were like, Mum, you need to go to the top of the bed and put this sugar liquid in his mouth. I don't know why. I think I don't think it's calming. It's just sweet for them. And then I was not prepared for what I had just witnessed this irrigate, and I thought, little did I know I'd be doing that twice a day to keep him alive till he had his pull through. And I was just like mortified. I couldn't stop crying. I was in a real tears. And one of the doctors said he's going to have a biopsy tomorrow. We think he might have Hirschsprung disease, but don't Google it. Now, I couldn't remember what she said. And I thought, well, I have to Google it. And I'm on the phone thinking, baby's not, this has happened. And it came Hirschsprung. And I was like, that's what she said. And we Googled it. And I still just couldn't even say it was just so, and went on. I could help hold Cody, but he was just tubes, just happened. I wasn't even feeding him. I just had to talk to him. He had his biopsy. We then had to wait for the results. But whilst he was in hospital, we had, and I kept saying, it was 1 in 8 chance of Down syndrome. Has he got Down syndrome? Because when you're trying to just think or give them ideas. And I said to one doctor, I said, have you thought it could be enterocolitis? Like, not even knowing that they would be so aware of that and that was going to come down the line. But I was just trying to think of anything it could be. But the following day after his biopsy, um, the ear specialist come round because he hadn't had a hearing check. They came and they said they got a reading from the left ear. The right ear, they're like, we can't get anything. So they went and got more machinery, did both, and they're like, we're not. And they said, Mum, they kept calling me Mum, we don't think Cody can hear. We think he's deaf. And I don't know what, I literally just screamed. And I said, what now? What now? I said, so I think I've been comforting him for the last 72 hours and talking to him, and he hasn't even heard me. And I literally, it was a noise that I made it was just horrendous. And then they got someone more senior, another senior doctor to come in and do it, and they were like, he can hear. So I then had, but I messaged Annie. I was like, this is terrible. How to break the news to someone? But I went, he's now deaf, because I thought, what? It was just, high low, high low. But I had to. Days went past, and I was there while they were doing the washouts. I'm like, Mum, you need to learn how to do this. But I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to be doing this. I don't want to be a nurse to my child. I wanted to be a mum. But then I realised that my mindset had to change quite quickly, and I had to jump on board that this is what we're dealing with. But I didn't want but I think he didn't want any of this. No one wants any of this. And then you kind of have a reality check, because you're in the hospital and you're seeing a lot of really poorly sick children, and you look at them thinking they're really ill. But we were going for lots of tests, and there was a mum and a daughter in the lift with us, and the mum pulled the daughter away and said, don't stare, don't stare, he's really sick. And it kind of, I was like, they're talking about my son, like he's really sick, because he must have looked really sick. It then got confirmed that he had Hirschsprung disease. We needed to learn. They wasn't going to let us go until he started tolerating some feeds. We're doing the washouts. We were there for three and a half weeks. Andy didn't see him. Don't worry, he wasn't sitting in the car park. I
No,
went
no, I
down later
didn't
on
think
that
he was.
day.
You hadn't
Yeah,
left him there.
yeah, I went down later that day and was like, he's not coming home. He's not coming home. And then Andy didn't see him. Andy's had his whole paternity leave, just with my eldest, just with Zach. And he's like, he's not coming home. And we were there. And then one of the nurses said, Dad can, because I was literally doing day shifts. It was awful. I was getting there for 8, half 8, but leaving there at 5 to get home for Zach. And Zach, this whole time, still thought I was pregnant. It was just, but we still couldn't say he was here, because this isn't the way I wanted. It was, I didn't actually know it, and I said to Andy, I want to get him christened, but we didn't know. if he would even be here to be christened, because every day something changed. Every day there was something else, something new, and he just wasn't coming home. Um, Andy then went. The nurse came in and said to me, "Did you know, because he's been here he's now classed as a long stay, your husband can come." And I don't know if he had to do 48 hours. He had to do 2 days at a time, but he can come and see Cody. So I can't remember the facts, but Andy went and spent the day with Cody. But I was really like, you need to make sure it's this, we do this, because he hadn't seen his son. He hadn't seen him. So that was lovely, but also really hard. Um, and we kind of changed it that it was 2 days, 2 days, 2 days on, 2 days. I was saying it's like a shift work.
Yeah.
And one morning, Andy got there and he messaged me and said, they've said that Cody can come home for the day because they've done his washout, but we have to bring him back for his washout. But I've told them no. He's probably best here. I think we were just petrified. But
Yeah.
I rang him. I said, "What do you mean you said no?" And they're like, "Well, we don't. What will we do?" And I said, "He's coming home. You've made a mistake." And he had to go to the state nurse station. So I think I've made a mistake. My wife said we're bringing him home. So it was just that's when Zach was there, and we could say, "Look, meet your brother." And it was just the most specialist day, but also we were on edge. Like we were on edge, but we didn't have to really do anything. Just we were just like, is he drinking? But we didn't. He wasn't many nappies to change because he wasn't pooing. And then he went back to hospital. But that's when it started to slowly get a bit easy. Well, I say easier. We then learned how to do the irrigation. We knew if we had a bad washout in the morning, and we knew if the one in the evening wasn't good, we were back in hospital.
Right.
So there was a lot of to and fro in. Most of the time, it all did go well, but it was very. They I think that hospital they use a lot more saline, a lot more equipment, and they go where we're a bit too scared to go as high as they do. They just do it, and they can do it really forceful and give them a real good flush out. But the medical equipment in the house, the setup for it, the height, keep Zach was just out. We did it when Zach had his breakfast, so he was just in front of a telly, so he would never let anyone see it. It was just really really hard. And then I started doing things with Zach, with Cody, and I'd get asked, "Do you think he's going to live? Do you think he'll die?" And they were literally asking me to my face. Some people were like, "He's really poorly. Like, do you think he's going to make it?" It was just awful. And then we had a couple of enterocolitis, so another more hospital stays. But we knew what to do. The first time he had enterocolitis, we took him to a local hospital because we thought we can't waste time. They didn't understand what we were talking about or what he had or what's going to happen. So we just learned to go straight to the main hospital. Where they've been absolutely fantastic. Then at 4 months, he had his pull through. Um, I keep hearing, I've never been told if he has short segment or long segment. I think that is, I don't know if they've never actually told me, and I've never actually asked, but I believe it's going to be short because they told me it was a third of his colon, and I think it was 22 centimeters that was removed.
That sounds about right. I mean, I have
Yeah.
spoken to people before
Yeah.
who, um, when I say, "Oh, is it short? Is it long? Is it,
Yeah.
whatever?" And they go, "I don't know,"
Yeah.
and because I don't think, I mean, each hospital might be slightly different, but I don't think hospitals necessarily
No, I
class it
don't know if
as
it was.
short or long. They just say
Yeah.
X amount has
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. It was 22 centimeters, and he was in there for 9 hours.
Okay.
Um, which was an awful, awful,
Yeah.
awful, awful wait. Um, but yeah, he had the surgery and brilliant. He can poo. It
Yay.
was, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. But then I kind of relied so heavily on the support groups on Facebook. I kind of then had to mute everything because I then had the fear of people are still doing washouts. Right, they've had the surgery, but washouts are still being done, or they're using equipment where they have to stretch, and it kind of just scared me too much. So I had to as much as I relied on all that information, I now couldn't see it. I kind of like blocked.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is going to be clearly our journey, but his bum was just so sore, and we had to, when they released us, we were then straight back to hospital because there were staples in his nappy, um, which apparently can happen just from the surgery. Just he was passing the staples, but that gave us the fright of our life. Um, and then everything seemed, apart from getting the bum under control, we were hospitalised. I think he's had about 6 admissions since his surgery, but we're a year where we haven't been in now. I don't know if that's because he's getting older. His diet is shocking. I think he's kind of borderline vegetarian. It's like he knows meat, what foods agree with him and what meats doesn't agree. Like he won't actually eat sweets because they say they give him an upset stomach. So is very, so we're going with it, but luckily he eats a lot of fruit and veg and cereal. He has like 6 bowls a day. But he is going to the toilet. We have enemas. We use enemas. Again, awful. Shouldn't Not something that I ever thought we'd be doing, but we do, just to avoid. I think that's actually kept us out of hospital.
Yeah.
So we do have the enemas. Potty training was fun, but he's potty trained. He's clean. So he's doing really, really well. It wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. But he can't. I'm a bit worried. He starts school in September, um, but he can't clean himself. And the only reason we're on top, his bum doesn't get sore, is because we're using pastes from the hospital that we go and collect, and we use the wipes for his. Instead of using toilet paper, we use the wet ones that you can flush, and it's just keeping. But he smears. We've identified that it could be some, if he drinks juice, that could have an impact. But there's still quite a lot of smearing. There's good days, bad days. Um, but it's now just him trying to clean himself, because I don't know how that's going to look like at school for him, and I worry. There's a
Yeah.
lot. Kids can be mean, and I think they call each other pooey pants and things like that. But I, I hope he takes it on the chin. But if someone calls Cody that, they call my eldest that, and we all laugh. It's not nice, but we laugh it off. But with Cody, I'm a bit like, let's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But
yeah.
yeah,
But
it's that
yeah. But
it's
he's
that
done he's done amazing. I just, if anyone's listening, it isn't always easy, and I know
yeah.
every journey, Hirschsprung journey, is completely different. And but I was the one wanting all the reassurance and asking so many questions. And since Cody's surgery, I feel really bad because I go on the groups and I can see people are asking questions, similar questions that I asked. I can't reply. I don't know what it is, but I just can't. I can't do it. But if anyone's listening and wants maybe a positive, as positive as it can be in our situation story. And he's great. He's crazy. He's a really you would go to you'd put 10 4-year-olds in a room together. You would not know Cody has Hirschsprung disease.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Hirschsprung's is, but by and large, obviously
Yeah,
there's some that maybe have tube fed or whatever
yeah,
it may be, but by and large, if you were to walk down the street and say pick the person with Hirschsprung's, you couldn't, you just
yeah,
couldn't,
yeah.
and that's a good thing, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. It just makes it sometimes makes it harder when he is having a bad phase or a bad day. It just like it's a big hard reminder,
Yeah.
of actually he does have a disease, and it is
Yeah.
yeah,
You,
it's been horrendous, to be
you
honest with you.
you can sort of have those times where you just forget that you have Hirschsprungs. I've been through that
Yeah,
myself, where yeah, most of the time you go through your day and you don't sort of register that you've got it, or you don't think anything about it, and you just get
yeah,
on with whatever you get on with. And
yeah,
then there are some slight reminders. You might have an off day, you might feel not so well, and you go, "Oh yeah, I've got Hirschsprungs," and
yeah,
that's kind of might be
yeah,
that's why I feel um, like this. But I'd just go back a little bit and ask you a couple of things with when it came to the sort of sicking up. It sounds again like a few stories I've heard where didn't pass meconium. The sick, was it sort of like a greeny color?
yeah. So the beginning bit was it was kind of like orange,
Oh,
a bit
really?
orangey, a
I've
little
not
bit
heard that.
browny orange, and then it went green. And I
Ooh.
didn't know what it was. They told me that that's his feces,
Yeah, it's kind of like so it'd be sort of like a brown color and then sort of like a
and then
green
it
kind of
turned.
bile type
Yeah,
thing. Orange is one I've not heard though.
yeah. It was a bit orangey brown,
Ooh, that's interesting. I've not heard of.
and then it changed.
This is why I do these, and this is why you just said it a moment ago that everybody's story is different,
Yeah,
and this is why every single. I know we were talking a little bit about this off air that every single episode I do, I learn something, and I've learned something again today. Especially with the, I know we talked a bit about passing staples as well. I didn't know that was even possible.
nor
What
did
what
I.
did? Yeah, no, I bet that was a shock and a half. Um, but what did the hospital, was that sort of something they saw before, or was it just kind
Yeah,
of
that I had the staple in my hand. I had the nappy, and I was like, "This is." I'm like, "Yeah, normal, mum,
wow?
can happen." I was like,
I,
"Okay."
I just I don't I've never I've never heard of that before at all. Never ever heard. I don't know if anyone listening has gone, yeah, that's totally normal. But yeah, we're 88 episodes in, and I haven't heard that at all. But that is, yeah, that's incredible, and I imagine that must have hurt as well.
Well, he was. I don't know if we got released from the hospital too early because it was only within 48 hours of him having that surgery did they say you can go home because he was drinking and going to the loo. But that night, it was our first night home, and it was just, we were on edge. We were really worried, and we didn't know what to expect. And it, we didn't know. Well, he just kept comparing him to poor Zach all the time. What did Zach do? What was that? We forgot what it was like to have a baby.
Yeah,
Not I can't say a normal baby because
no,
he's gorgeous, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
We just forgot what's baby and what's Hirschsprung related.
right.
So you could have with Zach, we had the witching hour between 5 and 6, where every night he would just scream the house down when he was a baby, just crying, 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 really grumpy, really unhappy. If Cody did that, we wouldn't think that's just
Yeah,
him being an unhappy baby. We're like, he's in pain. There's something wrong, and because you could always see him, he was in a next to me, and you could just know when he needed to go to the loo because the the noises throughout the night, and you could see him tense his body, and it was just so different. And we're not having any more children, and they said that we were really lucky that normally happens with boys, but they're really surprised that Zach didn't doesn't have Hirschsprung disease because it should be the first boy or something. They were right, is he okay? I'm like, yeah, he's fine. But they have said that if we do have wanted more children, it'd be like I think they said something like a 99% chance that that baby would have Hirschsprung disease.
Really? That
Yeah,
that's interesting because one thing that fascinates me is genetics and
yeah,
why people get Hirschsprungs, why they don't,
yeah,
why they all of this stuff. And I think over the last 18 months, I've interviewed many, many different scenarios where it's the second born, it's the third born, it's the
yeah.
first born.
You just hear, yeah,
Yeah, sometimes there's people who have a boy first, and obviously boys are more susceptible to Hirschsprungs. Then they have a girl, and the girl has Hirschsprungs. So
yeah.
I'm
It's all
Lord
different,
at a
isn't it?
loss really. So when they say
Yeah.
90, was it 98? You said
It was,
98%.
I might have it wrong, but I know it was a really high percentage that the gene is now in me and that will be passed on. But then I see so many amazing stories online where they've gone on to have three, four, five children, and maybe two of the five only have Hirschsprung disease. Like it's not, it's all so different, but it's not a risk that we're willing.
That's fair enough. Yeah,
We
no,
could not go. I don't think that my family, and I just, yeah, no, it's completely. I think okay, we're very lucky, we're fortunate. Let's just keep that how that is.
yeah.
Let's,
I mean, bearing in mind what you've said over the last sort of half hour or so,
yeah,
and everything you've been through, and again, it's not just the physical stuff, is it? It's
no,
not just getting Cody well again and finding
yeah,
out what might be wrong, and it's everything that goes with it, the emotional stress, the mental stress,
yeah,
everything, as you said, coming home, going back again, coming home,
yeah,
doing shifts, all of that is
yeah,
I imagine incredibly
yeah.
tiring and
We
stressful.
we live off a system at home. Amber, we have green. Everything's fine. We're not worried about Cody. Cody's eating, drinking, going to the loo. Everything's okay. Amber, slight constipation or really gassy. There's the smell, or we're just something's amiss. And red, we're going to hospital.
Right.
So I
That's
would
easy to follow.
say I would say about 4 times a month we have we both, me and my husband both say I think we're on amber.
Okay.
I think
So
we're going to red. You just have, and that's the amber is when the enema is basically going to save the day or not.
yeah.
And then Cody, we say, good bum day. And he's like, yeah, good bum day. Or, oh no, he's struggling or something's not right. Or even he'll just come up to me and say, I think it's going to be a bad bum day. And that's when we just have constant smearings.
But
So he's slowly learning as well. So we have good days, good bum days, bad bum days, and we're literally on a red light traffic light system
yeah, no,
to
I
get
like
through.
that system.
Yeah,
I like that, but it's interesting as well that Cody knows his own body a lot more
yeah,
and says, "All right, I think this is like this, or I think this is like that." That's
yeah,
really good to see as well.
yeah. But yeah, it's and I just my I've got a little nephew, and he's turned one, and I was really worried because we were again looking at genes, and I was obviously over the moon when I found out that he was going to be a little boy. But I was like, I hope everything is going to be okay. And then I was like, if it's, and luckily everything is beautiful, healthy little boy. But I thought if they do need help with the irrigations or washouts, like I would do that now. I now know what to do, and I couldn't believe it the first time I saw it. And I kind of want, if there was anyone in my neighborhood, someone could be going through something, and I kind of wanted someone else to tell to be there or show me. So I kind of just, yeah, I feel like there should be a list somewhere of people close to you that can help and do these things.
That'd be great. That'd be
Do you
great.
know?
Like a
Yeah,
washout list.
yeah, just like someone who can yeah, lend a hand. Well,
That's
how awful though, but yeah, it's hard when you have to go to the our children's hospital is an hour and a half away from us.
yeah, yeah.
We were doing that daily, there and
It's
back.
not the easiest thing, but that's such a kind thing as well, though, that you can go, right, I went through this. I had no idea, 4 years ago, I had no idea these things even existed. And it's
Yeah,
amazing what you learn because you have to. Yeah, you don't have a choice,
Yeah.
and that's
That
such a
is,
great
yeah.
thing
When
to
people
help.
say they're pregnant, I just say, yeah, obviously made up. I'm like, do not leave the hospital until they pass that meconium, even if they want you to. Because if it was the other way around and Cody had been my first baby and they let us go home and he hadn't passed the meconium, we wouldn't he wouldn't be here.
No, no, and as I say probably more often now than I ever have done, mother's intuition
Yeah.
is invaluable. It's huge. And I know you said you went to and from the counter, was it 11 times in 12
Yeah, it's on
hours?
my notes somewhere. I didn't think that they were meant to give me those notes, but they did. And it's like, mum spoke to us again, a very anxious mum. I was like, yeah, because I it's there's being sick after milk, and then there's this coloured sick, and it's just there's just too many signs not adding up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just as we sort of come towards the end here, the future for Cody. I know you said a little bit about starting school soon, and
Yeah,
there's obviously excitement and nervousness
yeah.
and worry a little bit about that. But kind of medically and non-medically, what do you see for him in the future?
Cody go. We have yearly checkups at the hospital with the surgical team. We go on what they say. They're the experts. He has had Botox. Sorry, I didn't mention that. So we'll see if he might need that again in the future. We haven't left the country. We've actually been too scared to leave the country. But I'm hoping another year, if everything's okay, and when he starts understanding his body more, we'll all have the confidence to go abroad and have a family holiday. Um, I don't. I with this disease, I always know that we don't actually know what the future is going to hold and how quickly things can happen and change. So it's literally day by day, um, just hoping we can master his hygiene at the moment with wiping his own bottom for school, more importantly. But just I think if we're going on aiming at what we want, just for him to keep living like a happy little boy, living his life to the full, with the odd bad day. But yeah, I think our main goal would be getting away on a nice family holiday. It's just finding now that venue, that hotel that will have a specialist hospital there. Because if it's in the middle of nowhere, we're not going.
No, no, he's not going camping
No,
anytime soon.
oh no, absolutely not. He'd hate that. Well, I would.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so, so much
Thank
for
you for
coming
having
on. It's
me.
been a pleasure to chat to you. And just very quickly before we do, where can people find you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
I will open my account because it's locked at the
Ah,
minute.
right.
But I will definitely unlock, and my Instagram, and there's lots of pictures. I'm a bit obsessed with my children. But my Instagram handle is Sade, Sade, Goldthorpe, Goldthorpe. And his journey is on there really. I post the highs and the lows. But yeah, just to document everything really, and just if it might help someone if they're in a similar position.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Well, thank you. We wish you obviously all the very, very best
Thank you so
for the
much.
future, and thanks for coming on.
Amazing. Thank you.